We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're alive! You're alive!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
All right, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and we are here on a Tuesday night, going live to you on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And hopefully we'll be streaming live soon to osn.tv. You can follow us at watch.osn.tv and use promo code JOSH to get exclusive percentage off of that subscription. I promise you won't get disappointed because there's a lot to watch on there. There's prophecy in the news, there's our show, and many others that I'm sure you would all enjoy. So check us out there at watch.osn.tv. As you all start joining us in the chat on different platforms, we have it all consolidated on once so we can see where you're commenting from. And we're so grateful for all those that have jumped in and partnered with us. Thank you to our partners at politicalpulpit.com/partner who have helped us continue to spread the good news, spread the word, and deliver the news from a biblical worldview and all things that are happening, not only in the nation, but in this world. We are very, very intentional about praying for Israel and the Holy Land and all that's going on, and keeping a close eye on prophecy and partnering with people at Endtime at endtimeministries.com with Vince DeGaulle, Doug Norvell, and Dave Robbins, and all the great people that are behind the scenes, helping us stay up to speed on all things prophetic and the book of Revelations, Daniel, all the things that, the four horsemen and the trumpets and the seals and all the great things that you hear, but they give you some true biblical insight. And we thank God for all of our friends at End Time. I want to thank you guys for joining us on our chat room again. Thank you to Liliana Viscata, who is a great patriot in the great state of Arizona. She's doing a wonderful job and has been in the fight from day one. So thank you, Liliana, for joining us. God bless you as well. And thank you all who are starting to pour in. We're going to start just jumping right in because it's late. This is the night out broadcast. We promise to come back a little bit earlier in the next few days because we are working really hard. As we keep talking about it, Redeemer Christian Academy is in full steam ahead. I mean, we start August 5th. The school starts August 5th, first day of school. We have orientation the week before. So we're really serious about it and working hard to getting it going. In Arizona, by the way, there's been some legislation that's passed in the last few years that allows state funding, the state dollars to follow the student. So they get to choose where they go to school. This has opened many opportunities for many families breaking out of the traditional system of the public school where they've allowed the liberal ideologies, the crazy messaging, the anti-Christ movement basically in your kids' schools, and allowed us to decide where we want to put our schools, or put our kids in either private school or allow us to do homeschooling. And we've taken advantage of that in a good way to break people out and offer alternatives for our families in our community. So we're so grateful for that. And we're so serious about making it happen, and it's been a lot of work. So we're filming a little bit later these days, but thank God for the opportunity, because of our partners, by the way, to film from our home or on location at Political Pulpit Studios, we'll call it. But it is Redeemer Ministries, actually, where we film, and we're grateful for our home church and all of our Redeemer family. If you're watching, say hello, get in the comments, and let us know that you are here. We want to just let the world know. And of course, it's going to help us break through the algorithms and break through all the crazy nonsense of trying to get views because the conversations that we have aren't always popular when it comes to these platforms, but it seems like it's taking a little bit of a turn for the best, for the better, right? So let's continue to engage and get the word out. Today, we've had some stuff come in from an AI race that the world is in. There's just a dash to be AI dominant, and it's taken the world by storm. And I'm curious to know what you all think about this AI movement. No longer are you just searching for questions or for answers and putting your questions in Google, because now when you do, it's an AI overview. It's researching the web for you and putting it in a summary. And that's happening in every platform. Now, you can't do anything unless you're using AI. I'm actually encouraging people, wait a second, use it for your benefit. Don't shy away from it. But man, what are we getting ourselves into? Does it freak you guys out a little bit? I know it's kind of creepy, especially when you set prompts to remind you certain things throughout the day or do certain tasks for you. I've seen videos where they've put AI, two different AI chats together, and once they realize that they're speaking to each other, they go into a different language. It's just kind of creepy. But anyway, there's a giant race, a mad dash to be AI dominant. And so to win the AI race and ensure global technological dominance, we need more power, says director Michael Kratsios. So hopefully I said that right. Let's take a look at what he says, but this was an announcement today, and I want to show you guys what that's all about.
Whether to win the AI race against China or to rebuild our defense industrial base, whether to reshore semiconductor fabrication or to operate biomanufacturing facilities, whether to take back the drone industry or to usher in the new space age of supersonics, eVTOLs, and rocket ships. Everything we aspire to and hope for means the demand and supply of energy in America has to go up. We cannot just do things without power. Whether to win the AI race against China.
So the push is for more power, to be power and energy dominant and self-sufficient. That is probably where the fight begins, because is it more coal? Is it more green? This part of this Green New Deal? Is it, windmills and other versions of energy? Is it solar? The president's very serious about drilling, fracking, and also steel manufacturing and mining for coal and all those things. Now, there's an entire argument about the resources, the limited resources that we have in our world. I have this argument or this idea or this theology, I guess, that we are not powerful enough to destroy God's creation. Now, we have a footprint on it, we have an effect on it, but we don't. There's no way we can destroy. Basically saying that God's creation is not resourceful enough to supply our every needs. And I believe that these resources given to us by God are given to us so that we can use for energy and power and to live and to thrive in this world. So as they talk about more energy and more power, then they're saying, they're coupling this with AI technology. What does that mean for this world? What does that mean for transportation? What does that mean for the investments that is going into the air traffic control? It was I can't remember the amount, but it's a certain amount of billions of dollars that went to air traffic control because it desperately needs to be upgraded, as you all know. Is AI going to run this stuff? Is it going to be, computer operated and no longer user air? Are we going to rely on computers to run this world? Is this going to be the robotic age where now you're no longer talking to a human or interacting with a human or being is your safety going to be in a AI controlled atmosphere or space where that you're subject to what the computer says? That's scary to me, because anything could happen, right? Anything can happen, anything can change, and it could be a situation where let's say the grid goes off and everything we rely on, which is AI and AI generated, and you need that power, you need that electricity, you need the computer to function and operate, and all of a sudden things go out for whatever reason. That could be chaos and pandemonium. And so anyways, something to think about. And what does that mean for the end time? What does that mean for the mark of the beast? Does that mean, are we going to see a literal mark on our hand and our forehead? Or is this microchipped? Is this in our devices? Is this AI? Who knows? There's a lot of angles you can take it and think about that way. But I think it's something we need to pay attention to. All right, moving on. It says, Rapid Response on X says, we'll take electricity from all sources that are reliable, that are affordable, and don't require massive taxpayer subsidies, says Secretary Barjam. This administration, it's a focus on we need to have reliable, affordable base load to win the AI arms race against China. So again, this is a race against China, because China, of course, is very serious about their artificial intelligence. Let's take a look at this clip.
Electricity in this country, and we'll take electricity from all sources that are reliable, that are affordable, and don't require massive taxpayer subsidies. And so whether it's hydro, whether it's geothermal, whether it's nuclear, this administration, it's a focus on we need to have reliable, affordable baseload is what we need to win the AI arms race against China. As a country, we had over-subsidized and therefore overstimulated, over-rotated, however you want to describe it. But when President Trump took office, 95% of the FERC queue was wind, solar, or batteries. And some of these projects, 60 to 70% of the value of the project was the tax credit, not the electricity that was coming out of it. And it's unaffordable, it's unreliable. And for example, with solar, it's prone to catastrophic failures in every day. It's called sunset. We need more electricity in this country, and we'll take electricity.
We need more electricity, but there's ways we can do it. I think there's also creative ways that have been discovered, but have been suppressed. We won't get into that. But as you know, there are other ways to get electricity, and of course, they're looking at wind, solar, and other means. All right, let's keep it moving. Press Secretary POTUS greatly looks forward to going to Scotland. He will be meeting with the UK Prime Minister, and we have cut a really good trade deal with the United Kingdom. The two leaders will be discussing truly formalizing and finishing up the trade deal. Let's take a look.
President Trump is going to head to the UK at the end of the week. He's going to meet with the UK Prime Minister Starmer. Tell me about this trip. What are the goals for the trip over there to the UK?
Yeah, that's right. We look forward. I know the president greatly looks forward to going to Scotland on Friday. He will be departing the White House on Friday morning. He will be meeting with the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who he enjoys a very good and working relationship with. We have cut a really good trade deal with the United Kingdom, again, in record time. So the two leaders will be discussing truly formalizing and finishing up that trade deal. And I have to say, on trade, the president has announced two more trade deals today, Laura, with both the Philippines and Indonesia, both of which have agreed the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business, and they have agreed to lower their tariff and non-tariff barriers so we can sell our products to them, and they will continue to pay tariffs to sell products to us. Only the deal maker in chief, President Trump, could do that, so he looks forward to going to the UK to discuss trade and many other important issues with the Prime Minister, and we look forward to enjoying beautiful Scotland this weekend.
More trade deals. That's good news. We'll see what happens. I know in August it's going to really ramp up, and we're going to see what's really happening when it comes to tariffs. I'm really curious. I'm ready for these interest rates to drop. I'm sure you guys are too. They are dropping. They are changing. I know some farmers that we showed. There's some farmers out in the West Coast that we showed you guys yesterday were happy with what was happening with the trade deals with Mexico, even though there's tariffs with Mexico. It's increased sales locally for tomato farmers, which is really cool. All right, so when you convene the important stakeholders and you appeal to the best of them and you talk about our nation's kids, not as Republicans or Democrat kids, but as our nation's children, you can really bring out the best in folks in terms of reforms. This is talking about some of the major Make America Healthy Again victories on efforts to phase out dyes. So now companies are jumping in, taking out dyes in their food. This is great news for America, great news for our kids, because they're the biggest consumers of some of these candies and some of those things that have the worst types of dyes in them to be hormone disruptors and carcinogenic and all those things. But now they're making changes, so take a look.
Both Dr. Oz and myself have found that when you convene the important stakeholders and you appeal to the best of them and you talk about our nation's kids, not as Republican or Democrat kids, but as our nation's children, you can really bring out the best in folks in terms of reforms. People said we couldn't do the non-petroleum-based food dye ban, but we decided to start with this convening power and bringing people to the table. And so the Consumer Brands Association today is saying that they are committing to being a part of this pledge and to working with us and to meeting the time frame that we've mutually agreed upon, because we shouldn't wait any longer.
let's put up some of these brands because it's very comprehensive. Hershey, Nestle, Kraft, General Mills, Pepsi. These are huge companies.
Both Dr. Oz and myself
those companies
have
are
found
huge.
that
That's
when
great
you
news, right?
convene the important stakeholders,
some of the biggest
and you
companies,
appeal to the
biggest food companies are now taking out dyes in their food. We heard the other day that Coca-Cola was going to change the way they make their soda and make sure that it's cane sugar. That's crazy. And it tastes better. Anyways, by the way, it's so much better. All right. So I wonder if this is the same clip. I'm going to show you guys here. Consumer Brands Association, which includes brands like Coca-Cola, Amazon, and Target, announced its pledge to eliminate synthetic food dyes from its products, make America healthy again. I'm going to play it really quick, just the way it looks.
Breaking today, some of America's biggest brands are backing
There
the
you go.
Making America Healthy Again movement. This Consumer Brands Association includes all the
Bush
big brands like
Brothers.
Coca-Cola, Amazon, Target,
Coca-Cola.
pledging to eliminate synthetic food dyes by the end of 2027. Breaking today, some of America's biggest brands are backing the Making America Healthy Again movement.
Here, I'm going to pause it. Let's see if you recognize HCH Food Companies, B&G Foods, Bellring Brands, Bush Brothers and Company, Campari Group,
This Consumer Brands
Campbell's
Association
Company, Church and Dwight, the Clorox
includes all the
Company,
big brands like
Coca-Cola,
Coca-Cola,
Colgate, Palmolive. That's huge.
Amazon, Target,
Foods.
pledging to eliminate synthetic food dyes by the end of 2027.
General Mills. How many like their cereals? With all those, bad dyes. Now they got to deal with the sugars that are in these cereals.
Breaking today, some of
So
America's
that's huge. I mean, who could be upset at that? Healthier America, healthier children. A lot of these, especially lower income families, they have to rely on things that aren't as healthy because they're cheaper. It's time that we make our food healthier again, especially in a lot of other countries. There's foods here that we consume are not even allowed to be sold on their shelves, and yet our Americans are consuming terrible foods. All right, moving on. I want to show this clip. It says Tulsi Gabbard calls on the Obama statement saying he's trying to deflect away from what actually happened. Led by President Obama, there was an effort to create a document that would serve as a foundation for what would be years-long coup against President Trump. Take a look.
From former President Obama there. He's saying that none of this makes any sense, that this is a distraction. What do you say to that?
It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama, as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same statement, which doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week, in the documents that we will be releasing later this week, that point to the undeniable fact that you laid out in your introduction to this segment, is that the intelligence community had one assessment, that Russia did not have the intent or capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. The same assessment was made after Donald Trump was elected by the American people as president in 2016, defeating Hillary Clinton. And it wasn't until after that pulled President's Daily Brief document that you referenced that the Principals Committee was called in the National Security Council, and President Obama then directed Obama's DNI James Clapper to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S. election. So this is the thing that I think people should pay attention to, is neither the message from President Obama's office, neither the statements coming from Democrats in Congress today and their friends in the propaganda media, none of them are addressing this fact that there was a shift, a 180-degree shift from the intelligence community's assessment leading up to the election to the one that President Obama directed be produced after Donald Trump won the election, that completely contradicted those assessments that had come previously. The second thing I want to address that's very important, Laura, is that you in the clip that you played, you saw John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey stated with high confidence this January intelligence community assessment that they drafted at the direction of President Obama. The fact is that they used already discredited information like the Steele dossier. They knew it was discredited at that time, yet they used it as a source for this document that they claim to have high confidence in. They used intelligence that some of these intelligence community professionals rejected previously because of the lack of credibility and the lack of the ability to vet with any kind of confidence whether or not that information or intelligence was accurate and could be used for an assessment.
All right, so we'll see what happens. This is a lot of information that's coming out. Maybe some of it we don't understand, or maybe it's not for us to understand, but I think it's important we pay attention to it to see what ends up happening. We'll find out, because a lot of times, most of the times, nothing happens, and I think that frustrates everyone, because they went hard after President Donald Trump and tried to indict him over and over and over again, turned one count into 34 or 35 counts or charges. And so it makes me curious to see what's going to happen with this whole thing about, this Russian collusion thing that was circulating during the first election. And now it's proven to be a hoax, as we all know. And now they're saying that, wait a minute, there are some people behind this whole thing pulling the strings. Who are they and what were they doing? Well, it looks like it was Barack Obama at the time and Hillary Clinton. But who knows? We'll see what happens. It makes me wonder why we go back to this stuff, but makes me also wonder if President Donald Trump's extremely serious about this, because they did go after him. And talk about lawfare. It was a lot. It was a lot that most people don't make it out of, and somehow he got out of it, and he's president. And there's a reason why he's president, and you might not like it, but he is your president. Just like I didn't like it when Sleepy Joe Biden was our president. It wasn't fun, but it is what it is, and here we are. So we'll just take it as it comes and keep you guys informed. President Trump will not rest until every illegal alien criminal is deported from our country. Joe Biden's evasion will be fully reversed. I said this the other day. I think it's about 1 million people have already self-deported. That's only going to keep going, and it's only 6 months in, and I think that's awesome. Let's take a look.
Inherited a complete mess from Joe Biden in the previous administration. And it's alarming to me that there were people in positions of power in this big, beautiful White House behind me for 4 years who just sat back and watched as our country was invaded by millions of illegal aliens from countries all over the world, many of them known terrorists, murderers, rapists, and drug dealers who made their way into American communities and were taking the lives of law-abiding American citizens who were raping and beating young girls like Jocelyn Nungare in Texas, or taking the lives of young women like Laken Riley in Georgia. And the people in this White House, including President Biden, heard those stories and did nothing to stop them. But that's why President Trump was reelected with an overwhelming mandate to secure our border and to conduct the largest mass deportation operation in American history. The Trump administration has been doing that. We have already deported tens of thousands of illegal alien criminals from our country. And because of the One Big Beautiful Bill, which was signed and passed in a historic fashion in breakneck speed, ICE and Border Patrol will now have a historic amount of funding to have more resources to remove these public safety threats from our country and make America safe again. It will take more time to do it, but this administration and this president are not going to rest until all of these illegal alien criminals are deported from our country. We must be a nation of laws, or America will cease to exist. And this is a law and order president.
Yes, it is. And that's the hard part. People don't understand. It's like, wait, we're supposed to follow that law? Well, yeah, since we haven't been following it forever, if at all, we do have laws in this country, and they were being taken advantage of the last 4 years or so. And honestly, this has been a problem for many, many years, and it's never been dealt with. And there is a consequence to this country when you just allow anybody into the country. And unfortunately, there are some good people that fall victim to some things that happen when it comes to deportations and immigration and laws being broken. You're in the area and you get picked up or you get arrested, but you don't have your documents. That's just, unfortunately, we have to be a country of law and order, especially when you have people like Representative Yvette Clarke, Democrat out of New York. She says, I need more migrants in my district for redistricting purposes. That's crazy. I can't believe somebody would actually say this on video. But here she is. But we knew this was the case all along. We knew this was it. Take a look.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes.
What?
And those members could clearly fit here. I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
That's crazy. That's literally crazy to sit there and say on video, you need those people, those migrants, so you can redistrict, so you can use them for votes, so you can win. Insane. And people think that's normal, and that's okay. It's not okay. Trust me, that is not okay. All right, here's I'm going to call this the rapid 10. That's number 10 right there. The next few of them, from 9 through 1, are stories that we just pulled up real quick. All right, the next one's number 9. It says Hillary Clinton had her staffers smash cell phones with hammers and use a program called BleachBit to destroy the records on a private server. She was ordered to turn them over. And why isn't the botched FBI investigation that kept Hillary Clinton out of jail? This is a top story. All right, well, let's play it. By the way, this is Tim Cass. Sometimes he says foul language. So if you're listening, kids, find something else to watch just for this moment. Take a look.
There are many that believe the actual Obamagate conspiracy against Trump was to maintain an ongoing criminal conspiracy that usurped the authority and power of the American people, transferring it to the kleptocracy, powerful elites that were using the power of U.S. government to the benefit of foreign nations in exchange for cold, hard cash right in their pockets. When word got out that Hillary Clinton was running a private server, Congress said, we'd like you to turn over those emails, some 35,000, perhaps even more.
Mm-hmm.
Clinton then had staffers basically digitally burn all of the documents. They used an app called BleachBit, which destroyed the server so they could not recover any data. She then had her staffers smash their phones with hammers. Is that what an innocent person does when they're working in government?
No, that's not what. No. Imagine if President Donald Trump got caught doing something like that. This country would be rioting, and it'd be a mess on the streets, the display, the news coverage, the media coverage. Oh, it would be just a giant thing. And somehow Hillary and company just gets through all this with no issues. It just makes you wonder who's really running this world, who's running the country, because it just doesn't seem normal. It doesn't seem accurate, right? Like, how do you get away with something so crazy? All right, story number 8. Don't really care for stuff like this, but it's a story. Jon Stewart brings out a gospel choir and curses like a sailor in a cringeworthy attempt to pose as a political dissident. This is precisely the kind of partisan juvenile slop that led to Colbert's unprofitability, and in time will lead to Jon Stewart. Well, guess what? I'm not going to play that, but I want you guys to see what it looked like. Just trash TV. This guy's done. It's Colbert today. It's him tomorrow. It's Fallon the next day. And hopefully Kimmel. My goodness. Who likes Jimmy Kimmel? Tell me you don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. Come on, guys. That would be crazy. All right. Who remembers this lady? Dr. Deborah Birx. My goodness. She claims rural Americans died of COVID because they took things like veterinary ivermectin instead of remdesivir. My goodness. I mean, do you really think we're crazy? And it's as if there's not new studies from doctors, teams of doctors that have done new studies that proven all this stuff is crazy. And she's still running on it.
I got pulled back from COVID. I was devastated to see what happened. Long before there was a vaccine, people were dying at higher rates in rural areas than any other counties in the United States. If you lived in the Central Valley of California, your death rate was 3 to 4 times what the urbans were. And that's because they didn't have the same resources. They didn't have testing. They didn't have remdesivir. Everything that you had in the cities, they didn't have in rural areas. And I went rural community by rural community, and then you wonder why they used ivermectin, because there wasn't a doctor there was only a vet. And that's how things happen. And then we're like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, oh my God, this is on us. This is on.
Do you guys remember when they stopped pharmacies everywhere from supplying ivermectin? And then they started giving high doses of remdesivir, and they're destroying people's organs, destroying their lungs, destroying their heart, kidneys, and liver. Y'all remember that? And that's not even something that you got to dig deep for. This is happening, actively happening. And you probably know somebody that suffered those same losses or went through it. It's crazy that they still run on that stuff. I mean, so irrelevant these days. As a matter of fact, you should be tried. You should be brought before Congress with some of the things that you did, lady. Okay, Scott Jennings exposes Democrats for using the Epstein case as a political weapon against Trump. Scott Jennings nails it. They didn't care until 5 minutes ago. They did nothing. Biden did nothing to do anything about this until they thought it would be. Okay, so take a look at this clip.
You just raised the key point. Democrats didn't care about this until 5 minutes ago. They did nothing. Biden did nothing to do anything about this until they thought it could be used as a political weapon against Trump. There's no sincerity here
but they
about
also
Epstein
never,
or the victims. It's just politics. You just raised the key point. Democrats didn't care about this until 5 minutes ago. They did nothing. Biden did nothing.
Isn't that so
to do
true,
anything
though?
about this
Like-
until they thought it could be used as a political weapon against Trump. There's no sincerity here
but
about
they also
Epstein
never,
or the victims.
They literally did nothing. They didn't care about it. It was nothing to them. And then now they're running on this. Okay, so let's take a look at next one. We have this and a story out of Political Pulpit we want to read you. Take a look. In a stunning twist, Children's Health Defense is suing its own founder, now HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., for failing to create a task force on vaccine safety, something Congress legally mandated back in 1986. The lawsuit argues that no health secretary, not even Kennedy, has followed the law requiring progress reports to Congress and safer childhood vaccines. And now a federal judge may be the one to force action. So I'll go to that story later, but we don't have enough time. But that's crazy, right? There's a company suing RFK because of the lack of reporting for vaccines. Okay, let's take a look at the next story and our last story. This is kind of important to me. Actually, it's really important to me. I want to continue to pray for peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you be secure. Psalms 122:6. This week, 25 nations from across the Western world, including the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and Australia, issued a unified call for an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Their statement released on July 21st reflects the growing concern among global leaders that the conflict has reached a catastrophic tipping point. The disaster, the suffering has to stop. I know they're not covering it very often on legacy media, but you don't have to look too far. I would spend some time doing your own research, looking at some of these stories. Go to politicalpulpit.com and find this story. But the crisis is it's getting dire. It's getting pretty bad, and somebody needs to do something. And we got to pray for peace in that region. They didn't mince words. The humanitarian suffering, they warned, has reached new depths. The nation condemned the current aid distribution model in Gaza, claiming it denies dignity and stability to the very people most in need. Unfortunately, the truth is there was like 80-something people that died trying to seek aid because it's dangerous and it's not an easy thing. Whether it be Hamas or other means, people are dying, and it's pretty sad. They did demand that aid be allowed to flow freely, that hostages be released, and that all parties return to the table with urgency and honesty. This is not merely a matter of international diplomacy. It is a matter of human conscience and a moral moment for the church to pray, by the way. This is a crisis at crossroads. This is something that we need to think about as the body of Christ and what we pray for. I know we love America and we love all the things that we enjoy here, But there are people suffering. There are Christians even suffering in that region, and there's a lot of Christian persecution that we need to be aware of. Since the horrific October 7 attacks by Hamas that killed over 1,200 Israelis and resulted in hostages being taken into Gaza, Israel has responded with a relentless military campaign to dismantle the terrorist infrastructure embedded throughout the region. Yet, nearly 10 months later, the situation has devolved into a humanitarian emergency of staggering proportions. Tens of thousands of civilians, including children and aid workers, have been killed. More than 1.9 million people have been displaced. There's no access to clean water, electricity, and medicine has all but vanished. Aid trucks have been targeted. Entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble. Let it be said clearly, Israel has the right to defend itself. That right is enshrined in international law and rooted in moral clarity. No people should live under the threat of terror. Hamas is a terrorist organization that hides behind civilians and has no interest in peace. But acknowledging Israel's right to security does not mean turning a blind eye to the suffering of innocents. Justice without mercy is not justice at all, and the scale of civilian suffering in Gaza can no longer be viewed as collateral damage. It is a humanitarian catastrophe. This is what our response should be to war and suffering. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." That's in Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. But notice he did not say peacekeepers. Peacekeepers are those who step into chaos to build bridges. They do not tolerate evil, but they neither do they stand idly by while innocent blood is shed. So we as Christians, especially those who operate from a conservative worldview, often show strong support for Israel. This is rooted in biblical prophecy and its shared values amongst all of us and historical solidarity. But that support must not blind us to injustice or human suffering. So you could tell this is like a tug of war of moral belief and what your heart says based off what the Bible says or what we should be doing. But I think we should continue to pray. If we are willing to fight for the rights of the unborn here at home, we must also be willing to speak out for the lives of starving children in Gaza. If we believe in the sanctity of life, that belief must apply universally, not selectively. So let's pray for Israel that God gives them strategic and divine wisdom to figure this out, because this isn't the end. This is just the beginning, really. This is just the beginning. Iran's not going away. There's been bombings in Syria. There's all kinds of stuff happening. So I think the message is, church, are you ready? It's time to get and stay ready. We do not need to choose between supporting Israel and caring for Palestinians. We must instead choose the path of peace, justice, and righteousness, anchored in the gospel of Jesus Christ. All right, everybody, I'm going to end with that. Let's cue the outro music. There it is. I want to thank you guys for joining us on the Political Pulpit. It's been an honor, a blessing. And I also want to remind you all to go to politicalpulpit.com/partner. Consider partnering with us, but you can also support us by sharing this video in your Facebook feeds, in your Facebook groups, and getting involved in the comments. We just want to thank you all for your support, your love, and everything that you've shown towards Political Pulpit. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless.